ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between.
He's your favorite Mexican-American Gemini from South Texas. It's Chibbi.
And she's the lipstick-loving Salvadorican from Brooklyn, New York. It's Raqui.
And this is Words and Shit,
the show where you get to know the person behind the poetry.
Brought to you by Write Art Out.
Well, hey, Raqui.
Hi, it's been a while. Well,
I mean, it's been a week, 2 technically, but we're glad to have you back.
Thank you. It was a hard week. I think it was definitely a hard week for so many people, for so many families. I know I had a personal hard week within my family as well. And I, for everyone that is watching, like Chibbi and I, we always kind of talk about like, how did we start this out? And we want to acknowledge the loss. We want to acknowledge the pain and the injustices. But we also want to, right now I'm like, I've been so, I guess, engrossed in death and pain a lot that I kind of want to talk about joy, right? And how joy specifically in people of color and communities of color is an act of resistance, right? It is revolutionary. It is part of the revolution. And I think people sometimes discount it, or they forget that joy in itself can bring in peace, and it can bring in people and communities together. And so I want to start off really with the segment about joy. Yeah,
I love that, because outside of this particular week, it's been a hard year and then some. And I think it's these moments where we find like tiny little things about ourselves, or tiny little things that bring us joy, that we're able to kind of like hang on to keep going, to persevering through everything, and just finding that joy in the face of so much oppression, of so much bullshit, for lack of a better term, is an act of revolution in these days. And so, like, I'm curious, because I think we've all been living these lives, so many lives in quarantine, and finding new ways to find joy. So what is something, because like we all know, like, we know Raqui as the organizer, the administrator, the curator of spaces, right? That's in her wheelhouse. That's what she do, and she do so good. But like, what is like an unknown talent, or a thing that you like to do, that you do well, that like brings you joy?
First of all, Chibbi, I just hope that you're in my life forever and ever, because that was a great intro for me. I know I am living for this. You in itself is bringing me joy right now, and in this space. So, wow, what a great overall thing about me. I think people see a lot of the serious side of me. They don't know that I'm actually really silly, and I love to dance. I think dances for me has been a way to de-stress. And I can't twerk. Like, my favorite move is like that Tina meme dance, or like, hey,
Own it.
Yeah. And I don't care. Like, I don't mind being silly. If it's moving my body and I feel great, that is for me. It's not really for anyone else. That, I think, that, and one of my favorite things, I was thinking about this because we posed this question, but complimenting women. Really, I think that really brings me joy. Oh. Like, yes. And it'd be like random. It doesn't have to be sexual. It doesn't have to be anything. Like, if a girl is like really just her lashes are popping, her nails are popping, because I know, I'm like, yo, I see you went and spent like that money on those like nice fancy nails.
Speaking of nails.
Yes. I think it's just so beautiful when other women, or other femmes, or other people in our community like really just give out those compliments, because it makes me feel good, and especially like they just like are unexpected, and it just, I think we are in that moment of sharing joy. Like, I see you, you see me, and we are in support of each other. I don't know you, but in this 5 seconds, let's uplift each other. And I think that is favorite things to do.
I have to say, I have to be really careful when I give compliments, because for those that are unfamiliar with the other things I do, I also do makeup, and sometimes I'm just like staring at someone And then they like catch me staring, and I was like, I just love your skin. And that can sound really creepy. Outside of the context of I do makeup, I'm appreciating, what you have done with your beautiful skin. This is not it puts the lotion on its skin moment. I promise. Yeah. This is coming from a moment of appreciation, and also knowing how much you worked, the effort that you put into like creating this beautiful skin that is now out and about and showcasing its fabulous self. Right.
I know. So that's why I know when my eyebrows be popping and you say that my eyebrows are popping, I'm like, wow, he really means that. Like, okay, so like for for me, you just kind of went on a list for yourself, or if for people who don't know Chibbi, and how dare you, but like, where have you been? Because Chibbi's amazing. Chibbi's been everywhere, in the best ways possible. You are definitely an amazing host. You're a poet. You makeup artist. You're out here as an activist as well for your community. And yeah, so what are the talents that people don't know about you? That what brings you joy?
Okay, so recently, cooking is bringing me so much joy, and I am like growing as someone in the kitchen who can handle their way in the kitchen. But this is a little unknown fact, and a little hard for me to admit, and has been a talent of mine since I was a child. I am a Pokemon master.
Okay, you gotta tell me everything because I just got into Pokemon. Like, oh my god. Please.
Pokemon trading cards is where it's at. This is a guilty pleasure of mine and my husband's, and we've recruited other family members into it. So yeah, we still partake in the Pokemon trading cards. We still build decks. We still compete against each other, and I am really good. Okay, I'm just saying that's it's this moment of joy where it's like it's such a small thing, it's so detached from the real world. Like, I'm a man in my 30s, right? But to just have this moment where we can just sit down, we can play cards, we can just like enjoy space together. I love strategy games and things like that. So yeah, I'm putting it out there. I'm a Pokemon trading card game nerd / master.
You have no idea. I just learned how to play like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay. This is a whole nother conversation that we're going to have where we're going to need to bring these worlds together, because outside of me, my husband, our cousin, and her husband, we got no one to play against, because I'm not going to these tournaments where I'm probably going to get my ass kicked by an 11-year-old. Like, that's not happening. Okay. So I need adults. If you're an adult out there that plays Pokemon, please come. Any hoozle. So that's bringing me a lot of joy recently. I'm curious to know, for anybody that's watching, like, what are some of the little things in your life that are bringing you joy? I see we got Kansas City in the house. We got Florida. We got North Carolina, Oklahoma. What are some unknown talents? What are some other things that like you do outside of what you do that brings you joy, that you are exceptionally good at? Because our guest tonight is a man of many talents, a man of many hats that one wears. And I am so excited to jump into a conversation with him. Raqui, tell us a little bit about who we're featuring tonight.
Of course, I am so excited to introduce Akeem Olaj, who can be called a modern-day Renaissance man. He was one of the founding members of the New Orleans Youth Slam and Slam New Orleans Team Snow. What? And the winners of the 2010 National Group Piece Competition and the 2012 and 2013 winners of the National Poetry Slam Competition. They are no joke. All right. Other titles that he won with Team Snow include the 2016 Southern Fried Team Poetry Champion. So Southern Fried Family in the house. And the 2016 and the 2017 Southwest Regional Poetry Slam, the 2017 Red Stick Regional Poetry Champion, and because it's a long list, because and this is us cutting it down.
Stacks on stacks on stacks, yes.
Is that he was one of the winners in a 3-way tie at the 2019 Individual World poetry slam competition. So please, 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 if you can, give a round of applause. Welcome our poet, Akeem.
Hello. Hello. How's everyone doing?
Hello.
How are you doing, Akeem? Thank you for joining us. We're so excited to have you.
Oh, no problem. I'm doing okay. Just was working, and now I'm here.
Yay! I love that Abby said in the comment section that she does salsa dancing is something she's good at that brings her joy. Is there something you're good at that people don't know about that brings you joy?
I'm really good at martial arts, and that's something I really like doing. I haven't been able to do it because of the quarantine, but I'm vaccinated now, so I'm about to start getting into shape so I could go back to that.
This is the Vax pack up here, all three of us ready to go.
Yes, congratulations. Congratulations. Do you know which well, obviously you know which vaccine you were.
Yeah, I got the Moderna. I got both my shots. I'm like all the way done.
Yay!
Double dosed and ready to go.
I'm just waiting for my booster shot whenever they get done figuring out all the variants. That's the only thing I'm waiting on.
Yeah, because you know we're going back.
We're gonna have some variants. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm curious. You mentioned martial arts. Which specifically do you practice?
Okay, so I have a black belt in Tang Sudo, a black belt in Taekwondo.
Okay.
And I'm a green belt in ninjutsu. I stopped ninjutsu when I moved to Austin from New Orleans.
Okay, so this is serious. My brother's huge into martial arts, so I'm vaguely familiar with all of it. But yeah, that's double black belt and a green belt. Okay.
No, that is impressive. That's super, super impressive. All right. Thank you for sharing that with us. Sorry, if people were seeing this, I don't have Ghost.
Shit's going down at Raquel's house.
I know. I'm just like, I don't have Ghost. I think it's just we're using too many lights for this session right now. Let me unplug some stuff. Sorry. Thank you for being patient with me. That's what happens when you're in quarantine. But no, I wanted to say, I basically wanted to say, hold on.
There's just so much happening right now. I love it.
I know,
this is amazing.
This is what happens when you're live, people.
Yes, I know.
If you had any question whether or not we were actually live,
it's happening.
You should answer that.
It's actually happening. Going back to the martial arts thing, I would just say I think the highest I got was a green belt in Goshin Jitsu. That was all I did. And then at 12 years old, I was like, I don't like hitting people. and
well, that's the thing. I really don't like hitting people either. I actually don't believe in fighting for sport. I'm naturally a pacifist. So me actually being a martial arts was because I used to get jumped a lot growing up, like because I didn't want to fight. My mom was like, well, you're going to have to learn how to do something or you're going to be getting beat up all the time. So I really just used it as a last resort. I've only had to resort to it, I think, maybe 3 times in my life. That's about it.
So let it be known for all the haters and homophobes out in the audience, don't fucks with this man.
Oh, man.
I'd rather you not tell them.
Or do.
No, just let them know, so then they can learn their lessons, right? That's the thing. Like,
well, I'm gonna have to give them a warning before I attack anyways.
Yeah, because otherwise it is
it's very illegal for me to actually fist fight.
Yeah, because you have a black belt, right? That's like you are considered like
two
legit.
Legit lethal weapon.
Sorry, it was between the ghosts and the vacuum that
I think you need to add that to your bio. Akeem Olaj, legit lethal weapon, is an spoken word artist, etc.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, thank you for sharing that tidbit, and thank y'all for being patient with me.
No problem.
It is this pandemic.
This pandemonium.
I know. I feel like you already have been sharing like the space with us, and we were learning so much about you. So let's just jump in. You're gonna share intimate things about yourself, and we already consider you friends. So I would like to ask you. So, how's your heart today? How's your heart? How's your heart been this week, this month, this year? Like, you can start anywhere.
I'm fine. I'm doing good. I'm just right now real focused on working, focused on studying for a test in order for me to get my license in architecture so I could get paid more money. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards right now, since poetry and outside is kind of close. So I'm like, I can't be out there being a poet, so I'm just going to be an architect because that's all I can do from the confines of my house. So been focusing on that. Just enjoying my first year being married. That's always fun. What else? Yeah, my heart's fine. Like, my niece just was born a month ago.
I know, little babies in the world.
Yes, I got to hold her like her first day. My sister sends me a picture almost every other day, so it's a wonderful new blessing. I really don't have any complaints. Like, I let go all the negative people in my life at the beginning of the pandemonium. So I'm good now.
Yeah, especially in this time where it's like we're already limited as to who and how we interact. It's like,
I let go those negative people in 2020.
Love it.
Facts.
Oh, thank you. Someone said congratulations.
Abby says congratulations. Abby's all up in it. So after a little check-in, we like to do this little segment where if anyone's watching where they don't know you very well, we like to have them get to know you before we jump into the poetry. It's a segment that we call speed dating. So we're just going to ask a series of questions. Feel free to answer them as concisely or in-depthly as you feel is necessary to answer the questions, okay? So first question is, who is your favorite female superhero?
Miss Marvel. The original Miss Marvel.
Okay.
The black one. That's from New Orleans. I have to be really specific. I'm not going to call her any Spectre or Photon. Her name is Miss Marvel, the original one, the black.
There you go. You got to teach the children.
Bam. The one that I grew up on.
There you go. There. Teach them children. Okay.
Teaching me some stuff. Yeah, I'm the children. All right. Okay, so my question is, who would you want to spend one dinner with? Either they can be someone that has already passed or they're alive. Just have an interesting conversation with.
Oh, let's see. I would say Janet Jackson.
Because that's a story.
Yes.
I find her as like a very interesting person and lived a very interesting life, and she's so private. So I'm like, I would like to get to know more. It's like she's a Eartha Kitt mystery type person.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that analogy. Producers, did you hear that? Can you get Janet Jackson on the line, please? Thank you.
Please.
All right, next question. This is my favorite. I ask everybody, what is your favorite dish?
Crawfish.
Hey! Okay, wait. Follow-up question has to be asked. Like traditional Cajun crawfish, Viet Cajun crawfish, like.
That's only one kind of way you can cook crawfish. all these other variations that Texans been trying to do. I'm like, there's only one way you could cook crawfish, and it's the Cajun way. Any other way is just uncivilized. Honestly, like if I'm just being like honest with you about it, it's any other way is uncivilized. So I don't understand what other ways. Like what I need to know.
We can have a follow-up conversation about this, but yes, there are some people out there that might fight you for it, and clearly would lose in a fight because you have 2 black belts and they do.
Well, they could also have 2 black belts. You never know. Things could be just interesting.
Yeah. But they will have to notify you. Gotta notify each other, and I think that would be like, do we want to get into this? All right. So my last question, what mundane routine or thing that you do has really brought you joy during this quarantine?
I've really gotten into cutting and styling my own hair. Because like before, like when I had dreadlocks, I used to do my own hair. I had an afro before I had dreadlocks, and I kind of did it, but didn't really, I just like let it grow. But now I've gotten real into like just really taking care of it. I actually went bald from like the stress of working 3 jobs and trying to survive in New Orleans. Yeah. And during quarantining, after I let go all those negative people in my life at the beginning, all my hair grew back. So now I have like a full head of hair. Just, I actually just started keeps because I'm like, let me see if I could try something to make it even more thicker and more flourishing. So that's been working. So that's something real mundane and superficial that I've been finding so much joy in.
I love that. Let me know if it works because my genetics are kicking in, and I'm
it does. I can say it does. It does.
I love that. I think a lot of us have given ourselves some very serious COVID cuts in the past year, but I love that you've gone beyond just like the traditional COVID cut and like really just embraced it and started styling and doing your own things. So props to you. All right. So that was just a brief introduction to Akeem Olaj. We've got so much more that we're going to dive into after the featured set. But at this point, we want to transition into the poetry. Before we do, I do want to say to anybody that is watching out in Facebook Landia or YouTubeville, use the comment section, y'all. We're watching it. Use it to show some love. Use it to interact. Use it to ask your own questions. Maybe there's something you've wanted to ask Akeem for a while now, so drop it in there. We'll make sure to ask those questions. So use it. We're watching it. That's all I got to say about that. All that being said, Akeem, if you could please give us some poetry. The stage is yours, my friend.
All righty. Black boy caught between the crossroad of hate. One side calls me a nigger. One side calls me a faggot. When they cross, they often look like black Creole boy burnt alive by his mother in Jamaica. Black Creole boy shot in his head by his father in Nevada because he'd rather have a dead son as opposed to a gay son. Black Creole boy shot in his head in rural Louisiana because the white people would rather have a dead nigger as opposed to a gay one. Often look like black Creole boy homeless after coming out to his parents, sleeping on the streets of New Orleans or Atlanta or Washington, D.C. It looks like black Creole boy gets jumped at school in New York, in Chicago, in Los Angeles. It looks like a death in rural Alabama. It looks like a lynching in Tampa. The intersection between black and Creole look like a black boy bash until he meets God early. But the details of his death would never be newsworthy unless he experiences a resurrection. So that was my first poem. So I've been working on magic tricks. Because I'm not that magical, the only thing I really know how to do is write. So I've been practicing turning my blackness into haikus. It's magic, watch. To be a black man is to be a body bag minus the toe tag, all right? Or to be black from the South is to love pain, love struggle, but never yourself. Or to think racism will die is to love like a masochist while chained. Or times have changed. Turns out if you point out racism, you're also racist. Or turns out that only applies to black people before being shot by white men. Or names become chants, then hashtags. It's magic how we hoped to resurrect death. See, I once believed that I was made out of magic, that one day I would close my eyes and all my problems would go away. that I would be able to pull blessings from a hat like rabbits, believe that my life would make an awfully good TV show, a boy that falls from a building without a safety net, a boy with no food at home but the basics, so he learned how to turn flour, eggs, and milk into 15 different meals as if it was a hex, change the reality of malnutrition into full bellies as if it was a Thanos finger snap. Even if it's chemistry, it's still magic at best. A wish turned desire, turned reality. My magic would be practical, would be used to clean my home, fill my refrigerator with groceries. What else? I got it. My magic would be used to stop all rapists from existing, would be used to make all Confederates, KKK, and all white hate group congregate for a picnic if a sinkhole opens and swallows them whole. My magic would make me levitate, would make me possess all powers from all the X-Men, would delete my existence from Sally Mae and Navian, clear out all college debt and add a few zeros to my bank account. My magic would make me fly, would make all black things fly and not a dead angel, would make it so black people could wear a mask during a pandemic and not be confused for a criminal, for a black person to exist, period, and not be automatically confused for a criminal. My magic would change the reality that if you're black, you could be quarantined at home, jogging, going to the grocery store, and still have your body riddled with bullets as if our existence was the actual disease. My magic would make it so no one would be mistaken for a cadaver because the police decided to invade the wrong address. My magic would be a flashback, would be that time when Peekaboo went from childhood spectacle to reality. Now you see your father's clothes and pictures, then now you don't. I think I get my magic from my father. He's the best at showing me how to disappear, make a creature appear inside my mother's womb, then turn invisible when it's time to raise it. My magic was augmented from my mother, showed me that black kid exists without equaling poverty, without equaling a life lived vibrantly before you die. Look how the world loved the magic of black entertainment, how everyone steals from black culture but won't monetize, claim that sympathize, but when shit hit the fan, black people are often left standing by ourselves. My magic would be the realization that if I can't depend on anyone, it's because I never tried to depend on myself. My magic is that I'm finally myself, black as fuck, human as fuck, free as fuck, existing, thriving, regardless of who might get upset. Magic of a black boy, now a man, surviving a tightrope without a safety net. So it's something that I've been essentially paying attention to my entire life, just growing up black in New Orleans. It seems like the entire world wants black people to be magical. They want us to be human, but not human at the same time. And I've been trying to figure out a way how to kind of come to terms with that. Magic, that last poem, was like my latest iteration in that journey. I'm going to go back to the first iteration of me experimenting with why black people are considered magic and what exactly is that magic and what is expected of black people from this country. Black boy moves to flee racism and finds that hate has frequent flyer miles to spare. It shows itself in the form of a ticket for doing the speed limit. I'm surrounded by oak trees, so naturally when this white police officer calls me boy, my neck itches. He calls me boy again, and I answered how I'm trained with a yes, sir. I cooperate. I do not argue. Don't give a reason to be made an example of. I feel like I'm trapped in 1829 because I only feel American about 3/5 of the time. To grow up a black boy in America is to exist while others believe that your blood will make the grass grow, as if we were made of magic. Even when we become a man, that will still refer to us as boy. Shoot us without blinking if you're in your local park and you're holding the wrong toys. Told you're less American by rights because you were born the wrong color. Told you can't call yourself an African American by people from Africa because you wasn't born there at all. Told you just this bastard melting pot black that must give your DNA to the government to figure out what country you came from. Black, look, you just all anger. Look, you just all rage. Look, why you always gotta be so black? Why you always gotta be so othered? The other human, the other rights, the other name turned into a hashtag before a college graduate. Black boy, don't believe what they tell you. Like you're not supposed to feel or cry or feel any other emotion besides pride in evoking a clutched purse. But this is nothing special, nor an accomplishment. Because if a black boy graduates from college and the police mistakenly kill him, they will search his Instagram from the most niggardly image of his likeness because he was nothing special. He never had any accomplishments. After all, he's black in America. He's a ticking time bomb, an inmate number waiting to be processed, a cadaver that has somehow escaped his body bag. Black boys never feel pain. Black boys never break. We are not allowed to break, but black boys break. Black boys, we break often when fall to abandoned position. We break. We're called a nigga by a random right. We break when police profile. We break when black people profile. We break. To be a black boy at this moment in time is to have all your bones broken and still be expected to stand. It's to be a nice little Negro. No need to talk about your feelings in private because black boy, you black. You don't have a right to your feelings in private. You criminal boy. You need Jesus. Yes, that's it. We need a Caucasian man born in the Middle East, Jesus. Make sure they feel you. Give them a reason to claim to stand their ground and send a black boy off to see Jesus. But America, you gonna weep every dead body you sow. Even though black boys are made out of magic, our blood will not make your motherfucking grass grow. All right, so I have one last poem. So quick story before this poem. That last poem I just performed is actually on YouTube. It was published by Bunton Poetry, I want to say 3-4 years ago. I've rewritten it since then, so it sounds different than the online version, but I remember I performed it in New Orleans at a Black Lives Matter rally. And a white man, you know how white people just feel like they're bold, especially racist white people? It's something that like they feel like, it's almost like they feel like their dicks are bigger than 2 inches. But it really is. It's just like a micro penis. And they have no choice but to try to inflict their micro penis emotions on other people. So after hearing me perform, this Caucasian man asked me for a happy black poem. So I wrote that poem, this happy black poem for me. And if you don't like it, you don't like yourself. So a white man, drenched in his First Amendment rights, saw a poem of mine and say he wished that I wrote about the joys of being black. Me, a black man, well-versed in how a white wish granted often equates the black silence, asked, do you want to know what I wish? I wish you pick that piece of kale out of your teeth. I wish you didn't mistake any black person for some magical genie to grant you passage on your white privilege. I wish you wouldn't mistake me keeping calm in the face of your bigotry with me believing in nonviolence when the only wish my mother taught me to have was the wish a fucker would. I too wish I could write about the joys of being black. Like I wish I could write my story without mentioning your language that I have to write it in. Like I wish you would take this pack of breath mints because you really need them. Your breath smells like the bombing of Black Wall Street. Like that's where all black dreams of financial independence go in order to die. I wish this poem would make a white person, any white person, as uncomfortable and nervous as a Walmart in El Paso when a white man enters. An outdoor concert in Las Vegas with a white man watching from his hotel room. Black people praying in church when a random white man comes in. Basically, whenever a white man enters, I wish I could be safer for you. to be the perfect artist, to only talk about roses and love and sex. I wish I could be more Bojangles and less Nina Simone, the grin wide, the shuck and jive, to only exist in a room full of people that don't look like me and be happy regardless. You know, that means you made it as a Black artist. When white people tolerate your blackface, even though you're not wearing any blackface, when the white person asks for a happy Black poem, don't want to forget that over 400 years of racial transgressions. When you say you want the good in Black, I think you want to know where I go to the dentist, want to know what type of mouthwash I use. Listerine. When you say you want the good in Black, I take you want to know how we age and not appear to crack. The answer, mind your fucking business. Drink water. Coco, I can't give you all of our secrets. So, just say Black people are magic. Yes, you already believe Black people are magic. How else would you explain us not burning down this country years ago? And your teeth are really yucky. I couldn't concentrate on my rebuttal all the way through. Thank you so much. I have one more poem for y'all. It's going to be coming a little bit later, but that is my set for now.
Applause, 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 applause.
No, that was very powerful. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. It just left me really just speechless. I thank you. Thank you.
And the audience is very much on par. We've got a lot of love coming through in the comment section, a lot of applause, a lot of I love you some, a lot of I miss seeing Akeem, all of it. So yeah, for sure.
It's just even the way that you deliver, and it's the candidness of it, and it's just, it hits. Like, I think every time when I was like listening, obviously I know that, some of your poems are not for me or for Chibbi, but I'm glad that at least I can be able to listen to your words, and I appreciate that. Yeah. You're welcome.
So let me ask you then, because like I've seen you perform in the past, and every time that you do perform, you perform with your whole body, right?
I've been learning how to stand still during the quarantine. I've been I'm standing there like, don't move, don't move.
Well, that's my question, because like you perform head to toe. It is all of you in every poem. So like, how has adapting to performing or competing, I don't know how much competing you've been doing in the past year, but how has that adaptation to the virtual world been for you?
I've competed in two poetry slams. The Poetry Olympics that Justin Lamb hosted. That's like a yearly New Orleans tradition where poets from the New Orleans community sign up to do like limericks, haikus, reading a cover poem, doing a 2-minute poem, just like random different poem types, and you have different categories that you compete in, and each one is a point system. You get like gold, like medals and things like that. I did that. That was pretty fun. Mostly because it was essentially like a big old Team Snow online reunion, because it was like a lot of online Team Snow members. So that was just real, real cool. And I did the Just Listen with Akeem Rollins, Akeem with the big K. He holds a Chris Slam series, and he's actually talking about trying to do like a regional in person now that COVID hopefully is like on its way out. But he's been basically doing something for just queer poets in the community, just so we could have something to congregate together and share our poetry. And he actually decided to do an online slam with the renting up to like $600 to $800 sometimes in the season. So it was pretty cool. I did both of those, and I had to learn how to stay still. Because like I'm the type of person that want to move. So one thing that helped me is like, even though I know half my poems by heart, still have the poem up and read the poem. So that way I have to stay still, because I'm not back in my own thing doing all this crazy stuff. I have to stay still and just go through the poem and perform it.
Yeah, yo, that transcript life is real. Like I have loved that about the virtual space where it's like,
oh, my memory has taken a break. Oh yes, I used to be able to do like 3 different hour, 1 hour sets and everything all in my head. My brain is on break mode.
That's good though. Like, you know what I mean? I think it definitely allows you to not just, just to really focus and emphasize on those words, and have your little cheat sheets with like breathe, like do this and do that, where you had to memorize. So no. I also want to say that, from what we've heard and what I've known about you, you write a lot of very personal and somewhat, some would say more traditionally private content in your work. Where does the comfort or peace come from in being able to share that side of yourself with an audience?
It's a little bit me having been in therapy since I was 17. Mm-hmm. So all these issues that I'm talking about and I'm sharing with people, I've already worked on privately. I've already worked through. It's very like every time I mention like a family member in any of my poems, they have heard that poem, or they know that this poem exists. So it's not really. So after, let me put it like this: once I've worked through it and I'm okay with it, it's very hard for anyone else to criticize me and for me to care. Like you can criticize me, of course. Anybody could criticize my poetry and my work, but I also don't really care because I've already worked through those issues, and this poem is just a representation of those issues. And because most of the time they're private poems, I'm not trying to put them in books. I'm not trying to get them published. These are just like my little private little poems that I keep to myself. When I do features and things, it's more like the feature you just saw. I don't really talk about my private life as much because turns out when you do features, people don't want to hear that. So I had to learn how to adapt and learn when to take some things out for a feature, when to add some things in. That's extremely personal, but that's one of the things I really like about slam, because when you're doing the slam, I could talk about my personal stuff and it kind of doesn't matter what the crowd wants or not, because I get to say whatever I want. So it's not like I'm doing a feature where they're expecting me to do something erotic or, something like that. It's like I always have to, and I'm sure, Chibbi, you know this, whenever you're traveling and doing shows, you kind of have to conform your poetry into whatever show is going on a little bit. But in poetry slams, I just don't fucking do that. And it's like a actual little bit of freedom. That's probably why I'm still in it after all these years, because I've been doing poetry slams since I was 17, 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I'm 34 now, so half my life.
Yeah.
I was going to say half of your life it's been in slam. I don't think you're the first poet, nor will be the last one who says like that 3 minutes and 10 seconds, or if you go over time and you don't care about the time penalty, You got
that time penalty money?
Also, this is the thing. I don't care about slam that much, but I also care enough to be like, if I'm going to enter a competition, I'm going to play by the rules, and I'm going to make sure my time is in. Like, I'm going to, if there's a game to be played, I'm going to play that game. I'm not going to be like, oh, fuck this, fuck that, because why? Like, why would you go there disrespect? Why would you go somewhere to perform in this competition, and while you're there, you're disrespecting the competition? Then why are you there? When people say, "Oh, I don't like slam," then I would don't slam. Like, don't do something. I'm not going to suggest anybody do anything they don't like. But also don't shit on anybody else that chooses to slam, because it's their particular life. If you decide not to do it, that's all great, and that's great for you.
No, but all this. But I just wanted to say, it was when you're on that stage, like nobody can tell you anything, right? Mm-hmm. No, and I think especially when you're in your 30s. Maybe for me, I'm like, I just entered my 30s.
You stopped giving a fuck.
Yes.
I used to care, and you can talk to members of teams know about this. I used to care about other people's opinions on my work so much, especially with me winning National Poetry Slam so early in my career. I was letting people say, oh, I can't write, I can't make myself sound like I'm Southern, I have to make sure I take out my accent, and all these things I was doing when I first started performing because I thought I had to do. And now I'm like, fuck that. You're going to get this Louisiana drawl. You're going to get whatever the fuck I give you. And you're going to be satisfied, and that's it.
Does your opinion pay my bills? Does your opinion make my husband happy? No. Fuck off.
Exactly.
I really appreciate what you said too about how when you've gotten to this point where you've worked through it with your therapist, you feel freer to write about it. You know, like you feel freer to kind of like express yourself, and it's not like the poem. It's this idea of like poetry can be therapeutic, but poetry is not therapy. It should not substitute the one, right? So I really appreciate.
I would say it helps because like some things I've talked to my therapist about, and then I didn't, and then I came up with like other things and other solutions as I was actually writing the poem. The Women of the World Champion, her name is Ayanna Robinson. She's an awesome poet. She has a poem about, you know, this exact same topic about poets with therapy. And she was like, poetry could be both. It could be the cause for therapy and a solve or a balm. It could be all those things. It's up to you to decide what you want to do, but it's going to be yours regardless. And no one, you shouldn't stop doing that just because people might judge you for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Poetry can be a tool to help in the therapeutic process, but I think using it as like the crutch that's going to like get you through something is putting a lot on yourself too, to where like you're relying on yourself to be able to get yourself through something. So I appreciate the comment of, you know, like you have both, right? The poetry that helps you, but you also have the trained professional that helps you, you know, work through it all. On a much more joyous subject, you got married last year.
Yes.
Congratulations. I know that a wedding during a pandemic is probably not the ideal wedding, but
this is the thing.
Tell us.
My wedding was supposed to happen on March the 20th.
Oh.
2020.
No.
Everything was paid for.
Oh.
We had the tuxes, we had the honeymoon set, everything was set and ready to go. And on the 14th is when the country shut down.
Of course.
You couldn't fly anywhere. We had to like cancel the whole thing. So we was like, do we want to have a pandemic wedding where we having people travel from everywhere and risk getting sick just to be in our happiness? And we was like, we'll just go to a courthouse and just leave it at that. We've already lost the money. So it's not like like no one was giving us our money back. So it's like we've lost all that money. I'm not about to save that money to try to pay that money again. Yeah. So it's just it's just gone.
Yeah.
So now we have like fly things to get married in that we've never worn. So we're just waiting for a real snazzy occasion to break that up.
Hey, the excuse to do it. You were able to take a little honeymoon. I do remember seeing something like that, or a little getaway.
Yes,
right?
In Austin.
Yes. Hey, you know, you do what you can and where you can.
We literally was like, well, we're just gonna, since we couldn't go, we was originally supposed to go to Avalon Island, which is off the coast of Los Angeles.
Okay.
So since we can't do that, I went by the lake in like Lake Travis. I couldn't think of it.
Oh yeah, Lake Travis. Yeah, it's beautiful.
They have houses and mansions on there, and someone was like having a honeymoon suite where you was like on the top floor where you could like see everything. So it was $400, but I'm like, I only need one night, so it was great.
Yes.
So interesting to see, you know, all these stories about like love and trying to still like celebrate all that during a quarantine. I props to you for still getting married and be like, you know what matters is us, right?
Like no one was there. It was just us two and the judge.
So cute. Did you have like matching masks? I don't know. Like, did you do anything? At least
we made a date out of us getting married because we had to get married in Killeen because Austin marriage law was backed up. And that's this barbecue restaurant that me and my husband loves in Killeen. So we made it a whole date. So we like went to Killeen, went to the barbecue place, got married, went to the park. You know, then we went to the Mongolian. They had like a Mongolian restaurant. We went there, and then we drove back to Austin to our honeymoon suite. So it was like an event day for just us doing it.
I mean, that's a beautiful way to do it. I know the day that we went to the court and got married, it was like we've now made it officially married, and now what are we going to do? We're going to go eat crawfish because that's what we do. You talked about crawfish earlier, you know, and we're just going to spend the day together. So I think it's a wonderful way to, even though it isn't the ideal and all the bullshit that went into like fuck those businesses that didn't want to give you back your money. But it is this ultimate celebration of just like the union of the two of you, right? And that's the epitome of like what matters is the two of you together. How has your first year of marriage been, you know, considering you're around each other 24/7 in a pandemic, you know, has it just been the most joyous?
I mean, we wish we could go somewhere, like more places. We had cabin fever, like around Valentine's Day. We was like, look, we need to get out for Valentine's Day for a minute. So we was like, we don't care if we have to go somewhere local. So I had a show in Dallas. So we was like, okay, we're going to be in Dallas for a few days and just get away from our apartment. And then that's when the snowstorm happened. And then we have to come back to Austin.
Yes.
And then, like, so it was like, we talked about it the other day. Like, we really need to sit down, press record on our phone, and just talk about all the times we tried to go someplace since we've been married and how COVID has like stopped us in one way or another. Like for my birthday, we was trying to go to Washington D.C., but the insurrection happened. You know what I'm saying? It was just always something.
My husband and I have a saying, it's like, this is what I get for leaving the house. Yeah. Like anytime we try, like some bullshit happens where it's like, this is what I get for leaving the house.
It was just always something. It was so it like I feel like it just needs to be like a novella, a book, something like that. Just Jiminy Cricket's of unfortunate events, something.
No, you should definitely do that. I think definitely record it. You know how like people have like their I guess like those things that you do, like eat your cake after a year, or you gift each other like different stuff after 5 years. Definitely you should have that as a gift, like after 5 or 10 years, be like, let's listen to this recording of this wild time when we were in this pandemic. It's like, wow, we've gone to so many places since then.
Yes.
I love it.
So, you know, obviously we were reading your bio, and, you know, husband is like one of your new hats that you wear, but you wear many hats. And like as a man of many hats and talents, you just came off of being tournament director of. I'm so sorry, my mouth is like. It's a WOWPS, right? And then also the individual like poetry slam as well. So which do you think is harder?
International poetry slam.
Oh, international. So sorry.
Yeah.
International poetry slam. Which do you think is harder, or which do you prefer, being on stage or being behind this the scenes?
Now I really do like being behind the scenes a little bit. I'm still gonna perform again on stage because I'm like, while I'm young and my name hot in the streets, I gotta like keep on performing. I'm gonna like rate to people really don't want to listen to me anymore before I go full fledged. I'm just the organizer. But as long as people still willing to listen, I'm still going to be performing. But I really, especially since I've won just about every poetry slam adult male can win.
Oh yeah, you know, no big deal.
So it's nothing like, well, nationally speaking, like So I've won every national title that a man can win. And I've won Southern Fried, which is one of the you know, my super regional, the second biggest competition. So it's really, I'm just doing it for shits and giggles. So that's why I really like making sure younger poets have the opportunity to do what I did, like get on stage, perform, hone your craft, make sure these competitions are still going. Because since the collapse of PSI, is up to poets in order to throw these events for, or they don't happen. Like no one's going to do it for us but us. So I'm kind of slowly but surely just getting some people that's willing to do the work to try to put together something, even if it's you hold it 1 year, I'll hold it the next year, just to make sure that it's still going until we can get something more formally organized.
Yeah.
Just so it won't stop. Because the worst thing you could do is just let what happened with PSI in Poetry Slam, because they was at the beginning of Poetry Slam, so I don't think that should be the end of Poetry Slam.
Yeah. And especially right now where, like we've had conversations with people that like came up in like Brave New Voices and Cup C and things like that, where you have a whole
Brave New Voices, and then Brave New Voices I went to adult slams. I didn't get like at the time Southern schools didn't really participate in Cup C. So like I went to a Southern school, so I just was slamming with adults.
Yeah. And that's why like we have this like generation of people that have like grown through slam, that for it to just kind of like fall apart it would be a tragedy, and is a shame, because like, is it the end all be all? Absolutely not. But is it an avenue? Is it a tool to refine your craft? Is it just a place for expression? Absolutely. And it is so important for something like that, for spaces to be held, for people to be able to like experience that,
or just to communicate with your contemporaries. Because like, how often do you really get a chance to be around other poets for an entire week? Like, and now that we're in the pandemic, you really feel it. So like at IPS and Ralph's, the poets was just so excited just to be around other poets, and I was like, we can't just let that die, because if nobody, I mean, it's us.
Yeah. If we don't do it, nobody else is going to. So shout out to all the organizers out there and the producers who are continuing to put these things together. And hats off to you. I know we talked briefly after WOWPS, and I think it had been like a week, and you were like, I am still recovering from WOWPS and IPS and all of that. So shout out to you for putting in the work. It is clearly appreciated.
Shout out to Candy and the Dallas Poetry Slam, because they did the bulk of the work. I just stepped in when they needed me to fill that role, because they needed someone that actually knew how a slam tournament works to be the tournament director, because last year they had a lot of complaints about the tournament director. So it's like, we have to get somebody that really knows slam.
Who's been doing it for 17 years? Yes.
Like no biggie.
Let me ask you then, speaking of man of many hats and many talents. So you mentioned,
did I say Candy? I have to make sure I say Candy.
You did say Candy.
Okay, just making sure.
y'all, she's dropping Easter eggs about future things.
Yo, she's talking about Poetchella. So many like Candy. I'm happy to be just a resident in Candy's world.
And there we go. Hashtag Candy's world. Yeah. So let me ask you, because you mentioned earlier that you are also, besides being a phenomenal wordsmith and a martial arts expert, you're an architect. Yes. Which is its own. I read somewhere you decided to be an architect because you wanted to like help rebuild New Orleans after Katrina. So it is kind of like its own form of art. Do you ever find that the different art forms that you work in like influence each other, or are they completely compartmentalized? Like, how is that for you?
My paintings and my architecture kind of mesh together. My poetry doesn't really come into it as much as like when I have like an idea of how I want someone to experience the space. People would say that it sounds really poetic how I go through it, but as far as me actually having like a poem that influenced a building, I've never been able to be like, you know what, this poem about civil rights would make an awesome house. Like I've never been able to make that connection yet. I would love to make that connection, because I think it would be extremely interesting. Like every time I see a certain word, I make a right turn or something. I don't know. I have to like figure out some type of formula. because I think that would be extremely interesting. But yeah, I call myself just an artist. I just create things. I'm a creator.
I appreciate that so much, because you're using so many different facets of like what makes us people, and creatives, and using it in so many ways. So there's your next challenge. It's like, how can a poem create an architectural space?
I know you said you haven't really connected, but even just like this conversation kind of reminded me of like even Nikki Giovanni with like her poem of like My House, right? And how even though she's not building a house, she's like telling you like what's inside her house. So.
I mean, I've used poetry before and used a bunch of like building and house metaphors because because it's in my head, so why not? But I've never. Architecture has informed my poetry, but poetry hasn't informed my architecture. I think that's a good way to put it. Like I've used terminology, how you construct a house, and like move that to like a poem, and what I would say in a poem. I've done that, but I haven't like reversed that polarity to where a poem is doing that for an actual building.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Interesting. So then let me ask you too, in terms of, the poetry world and the journey, like we talked about your marriage in the past year and everything that's like been going on. Like it's been a very emotional year, to say the very least, for, especially for like Black and brown people. And like last June, you released Lazaretto. Ding! Which was a collection of poems that you wrote. Ding! There we go. A collection of poems that you wrote during quarantine. Do you still find yourself kind of writing to try and process it all, especially given what's happened in the past few weeks?
Yes, I've actually have the second book done.
Tell us more.
Well, the second book is called Socially Distant. It's my second time, it's my second continuation of the same idea, just me trying to process what's going on in quarantine, the news headlines that's been going on in quarantine, emotions that's been arising. Like I have this one poem where I'm talking about, it was a moment when I was using a Black woman's death as like a joke in order to bring attention to it. But I'm like, a Black woman dying is not a joke. So I had to like think about that emotion and put that into a poem. It's like a real short one, but just like things like that happen throughout quarantine since I wrote this book. Like me blocking my mother from calling me again. That that's something new. So that's in the second book. So things that happen from since this book till now is in the second book, and I'm working on the third one because it's looking like we have a few more months in quarantine.
Lord.
I don't know about a few months. I feel like I've been like the Debbie Downer at work, where I'm just like, are we really going back to work? Are we? This is really ever gonna be over.
Funny, my boss actually asked everyone at our meeting Tuesday if he wanted to come back to office, because he was like, well, I could buy some office space again, so we can have an office, because since we've been at home, like let go of the office space, because like, well, I'm paying rent there if everybody's at home. So he was like, I could get office space again, and then we all was like, leaving my house to work. Why am I leaving my house to work again? Like it was like now I'm used to me just walking from my bedroom to this corner, and then working in different locations in my house so I could claim it as a tax return.
There's a beauty to coming down from your bedroom, putting on getting a little cup of coffee, and then answering emails without the hassle of anything else that has to happen.
I don't have to deal with traffic. You don't realize, like I never realized how much traffic, the process of experience traffic, rounds you up and makes you kind of tense, like just going out on your normal day.
You don't have to deal with clothes if you don't want to.
Like, I actually have a poem about that because I went a while in quarantine where, like, I just was like, I'm not wearing clothes. And my boss was like, well, can you at least put on a shirt when you talk to me? Just like, I was like, every time I talked to him, I was like this, like this. I'm like, yes, how you doing? He was like, all right, I can't see you. I can't see that you don't have on any clothes, but I could clearly tell that you don't have any clothes on. So can you please just put on something?
It's valid. It's so valid. Even before COVID happened, when I had a corporate job, a lot of my work was from home, and it was just, there is this beauty of working from home where I personally feel like you are far more productive in your environment than you are in an office space. So yeah, let's not go back to that.
Or the realization
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Or I was just about to say the realization that we don't really need a 9 to 5, right? We don't really need to just be in the office 9 to 5 just to do work.
Yeah, you don't. I actually find myself that I work better at night. So I'll make myself available like during the day in case somebody needs to collaborate with me online. And then I would, after 5, like sit down, watch the news, and just be like working my brain until I get sleepy. And that actually works for me. And I think my brain is wired like that because of college. Because like, in college, you actually like, you're in class, from 9 to 5. And then after that, from 5 to whenever is when I was actually working on my architecture projects. So my brain is kind of preset to work on architecture after 5 p.m. So the fact that I've been trying to make myself create in the 9 to 5 setting just was not as conducive as it is now. Now I'm way more creative, and my work looks so much better.
Yeah. It's so valid to acknowledge that the systems that have been put in place in terms of what we should be doing to be productive, what looks like a productive lifestyle, what looks like a healthy lifestyle, are just systems that are actually holding us back, because some of us work best, like you said, from 5 p.m. onward. Some of us work best from 4 in the morning till 11 a.m. Right? So finding the times where you are your best self. This, for as much terrible things have happened in the past year because of this pandemic, I think it has shown a light on the different ways that we can adapt and bend things and still be successful, productive, whatever word you want to put on it, in terms of the workforce and the work culture that is out there in this country. So boom. So I got, so sorry, that was my little soapbox. I'm done.
You sure? I mean, like, we can keep going now.
I don't mind.
No, I'm good. Well, I really appreciated this past hour spending with you, getting to know you a little bit more, getting to know about your life, your work process, your history, your thoughts, and all of that. So I can't thank you enough for it. I would really appreciate it if you could close us out with one last poem.
All right. No problem. So, since we are in an actual apocalypse of sorts, I figure I would make a supply list. So, of course, you must pack a light. Must only take with us only what's important. So don't forget your pictures from high school. The ones you used to write little things on the back. Your old poetry notebook, a picture of your mother, one of your sister, of all your brothers. Don't forget some comfortable shoes for running, because you will probably be running from the zombies. Extra socks, some extra underwear, clothes that's easy to mix and match. Your grandfather's cufflinks. Believe your worry. You're just going to hell and back. Don't forget a mirror, so that you don't forget what self-reflection looks like. Bring weapons, a katana, your sai. Don't worry about bullets or guns. You'll hit up a local Walmart along the way for all those things. Origami your worry into a crane and let it fly out the window. Take the mix CD with your favorite slow jams. You'll find a CD player Never mind. There's no such thing as a CD player anymore, so leave the CD. Pack light. So your Bible. I know you was thinking about taking it, but you probably should just burn it. God did not return like she promised, unless these zombies on the Trump train are really angels. And if that's the case, then the Bible lied about angels. Do take a Bell Hooks book, the Assata Shakur autobiography, Black Indian, the ISIS Papers, Hip Hop Revolution, the History of Lynching, the Malcolm X biography, Message to the People, Water from the Rock, The Fire Next Time, Let It Burn, Everything But My Life. Do take your notebook, a phone specifically for music, because remember, there are no more CDs. Your degree deodorant, and your toothbrush. I never see people in the apocalypse brush their teeth, so I'm packing a fucking toothbrush, a crystal ball, a magic 8-ball, because why not? You're leaving everything else behind. Don't worry. You'll be okay, as long as you don't forget to take yourself with you. You can't afford to lose you. You're valuable.
Everybody watching, thank you. Akeem Olaj, everybody. So great to have you. Such great work. The love is in the chat. It's happening. Thank you, Akeem. Amen, etc., etc., etc. Thank you for sharing your work. Thank you for sharing your life with us. I know we have it displayed on the screen in terms of where people can find you, but for anybody that's listening to the podcast afterwards, where can people find you? Where can people find your work? Where can people go, buy your merch? Like, just tell us.
Well, you could buy my merch. Created a link on my website, so you could just purchase directly from my website all my books, because I actually have 3 books that I have. This was like my last one. I'm going to be working on that this weekend because my manager got on me about it. So if you want, if you want my book, you can also just send me a message on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Hit up my Cash App. The books are $15. That includes shipping and handling. Excuse me. I'm going to start doing weekly poetry shows again. It's something I do when I'm about to release my book. I start reading poems that I've written this past year, like once a week, just leading up to my release to kind of build up. So that's about to start happening the beginning of May. Catch me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, my website.
Boom. Perfect. At Akeem Olaj on Instagram, at Akeem_Olaj on Twitter, or www.akeemolaj.com. Making it so easy. How Lachelle wants to know, do tell, how can we get in on those? I assume Lachelle is talking about the poetry readings. Do you do those on your Instagram, on Facebook, at some special event?
I'm going to be doing them on my Zoom, and then I'm going to be streaming them on Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to be actually trying to holler at some poets, so I'm not doing it by myself, because last year I just did it by myself. So I'm going to be trying to contact some poets that either have books coming out or have something that that they're working on, so we could essentially try to do what you guys are doing, but just on a very just smaller Akeem Olaj level. So that's going to be happening. I'm trying to plan that for May. So that's going to be fun. It's going to be something new.
Perfect. So make sure you follow Akeem on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and all of that, so you can get all the information and updates on that. Akeem, once more, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you to those that watched, because I know you could have been doing anything for the past hour and 15 minutes than being here. I know there's plenty of other digital shows that you could have clicked on. So thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed by me. It's not forgotten by me. I really do appreciate it. Believe it or not, once I won iRips, I actually got less shows because people just automatically thought they couldn't afford me. So I I take all shows like with a grain of salt and with love. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Which is to say, y'all, book Akeem.
Yes.
Book Akeem Olaj. Okay.
That was amazing. That was a really, I think, poignant and necessary segment. You know, his words, his poetry, and just having a great conversation with him. It really is. You forget, like, there's some people who've been in this poetry slam, world for so long, and they started so young, right? And it's been great. I feel like every time we bring in a new poet, I'm like, is this why I love poetry? Like,
and it's a wealth of knowledge and experience that clearly shows in the caliber of work and in the outreach in the community. So always super excited to just get a chance to like uplift and share the work. I just feel so there's so much more work to be done.
There always is.
Yeah,
there always really is.
That's how I feel about it.
But we also need to appreciate and recognize the work that we've been doing and that we've done, even though there is more.
I know. And our feature next week does a lot of work. But we'll say that in a moment. Let's thank some people so that we can let everybody know who's coming next week. Let us thank the audience for tuning in as always, y'all. We appreciate you being here with us, whether you're here live or whether you're listening to this afterwards. We do this live for a reason. We believe you are an integral part of the conversation. So thank you if you're tuning in live or even if you're tuning in afterwards. And thank you to our production assistant, Dominique, for taking care of all the technical stuff in the background, and for Chris Conde, who produced our theme music.
And if this is your first time like watching us, or even like your 40th time watching our episode, right? Definitely give us a follow over here. You see in our little banner. You can follow us on IG and Twitter at Words and Shh, right? So please subscribe. Definitely go ahead and review us, and like go ahead and follow, and get your friends to follow us as well.
Be in the know. And if you want to catch up on past episodes, they are available on our YouTube. Please like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Or if you prefer the podcast world, I'm a podcaster. So you can totally find it wherever you get your podcast. Just search for Words and Shit. But yes, coming up next week, an organizer, an advocate, a community pioneer. Who do we have next week?
Oh my goodness, another Southern Fry like fam person too. I feel like we've just been going back to back. I love it. So coming next week, April 29th, is Heather Hero Wells. What? You don't know her, you'll get to know her on this next week.
So excited, as speaking of someone who does so much for their community. So yeah, until next week, y'all, we only have five more episodes before the end. Look, Lachelle's already excited for Heather Hero Wells. Okay, we're geeking out too. So I think we only have 5 episodes in this season. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you tell your friends. Like, subscribe, rate, review. I don't know what else to say. Until next time, stay safe, y'all.
Yeah. Bye, y'all.